You might think the Irish are the purest remnants of an ancient primordial Atlantic Europe, the last stand of the Iron Age Celts who fled to the edge of the world to escape the rolling tides of migration. We've been told for centuries that the Irish soul is rooted in a static, misty past, unchanged since the first stones of Newgrange were laid. But DNA tells a very different story. The people living in Ireland today are not the descendants of the famous Stone Age farmers who built the Great Passage tombs. In fact, those people almost entirely vanished. Despite sharing a landscape filled with Neolithic monuments, the genetic code of the modern Irish reveals a massive, violent, and relatively recent replacement. Your DNA isn't a slow-growing oak, it's a lightning strike from the east. So what does the genetic record actually show? If the builders of Newgrange aren't the ancestors of the modern Irish, then who is? To understand this, we need to go back to a mystery found in a Chalcolithic burial on Rathlin Island and the bones of a woman found near Belfast. We are looking at a genetic turnover so complete it borders on total replacement. The question isn't just, who are the Irish, but what happened to the people who were there before? To solve this, we have to look 5,000 miles to the east, to the endless grasslands of the Pontic-Caspian steppe, and track a signature that changed the face of the island forever. Long before borders, long before kingdoms, this land was shaped by the retreating ice. Around 10,000 years ago, as the thick glacial sheets that smothered Ireland finally melted, a bridge of land briefly connected the island to Britain and the European mainland. The first ghosts, Western hunter-gatherers. The first people to set foot on Irish soil were the Western hunter-gatherers. These were people with a striking physical combination, dark to black skin and piercing blue eyes. They were few in number, living in small mobile bands, following the salmon runs and the red deer. Genetically, they were highly distinct, carrying haplogroups like I2. They stayed for millennia, leaving behind microliths and shell middens, but they lived on the edge of survival. Their genetic footprint in modern Ireland is a mere whisper, a few percentage points tucked away in the corners of the genome. They didn't leave because they wanted to. They were overwhelmed by the first great wave of change. The Neolithic Revolution, the Old Europe, the Mediterranean farmers. Around 4000 BCE, the Old Europe arrived. These were the early European farmers whose ancestors had migrated from Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, through the Mediterranean. They brought wheat, barley, and cattle. They were the master builders. They possessed light brown skin, dark hair, and brown eyes. They transformed the Irish scrubland into a patchwork of farms and raised the megalithic wonders of the Boyne Valley. For 1,500 years they thrived, but by 2500 BCE, their genetic signature began to flicker and fade. Something was coming from the horizon that they were not prepared for. But that was only the first layer. The most significant event in Irish genetic history didn't happen in the Stone Age, it happened at the dawn of the Bronze Age. Layer 1. The Yamnaya horizon, the steppe migration. Around 2500 BCE, a group known as the Yamnaya began moving out of the Great Steppe, modern-day Ukraine and southern Russia. They were a revolution on horseback. They had mastered the wheel, the wagon, and the domestication of the horse. More importantly, they possessed a social structure built for expansion. When they reached Ireland, they didn't just mingle, they replaced. A study of a female farmer from Ballynahatty near Belfast showed she had 0% steppe DNA. However, 3 men buried later on Rathlin Island showed that 30% of their ancestry came from the steppe. In just a few centuries, the paternal lineages of the Neolithic farmers were almost entirely wiped out and replaced by the steppe lineage, haplogroup RB1. Layer 2. The Beaker expansion. The Irish profile we recognize today was solidified during the Beaker period. These were the descendants of the steppe migrants who had filtered through Central Europe.
They brought copper working and goldsmithing. They didn't just bring technology, they brought a massive genetic shift toward lactose tolerance and the Celt physical profile, fair skin and a higher predisposition for red hair. Layer 3, the Iron Age and the Celtic myth. Contrary to popular belief, the Celtic period was more of a cultural and linguistic overlay than a massive genetic replacement. The Iron Age Celts didn't bring a new race to Ireland. They brought a new language and a new style of art to a population that was already largely steppe in origin. When geneticists plot the Irish population on a European PCA map, the results are startlingly clear. Autosomal clustering. The Irish cluster most closely with other Atlantic fringe populations, the Scots, the Welsh, and the Britons. However, there is a distinct pull toward northwestern Europe. Despite their geographic isolation, the Irish are not different from Europeans. They are in many ways the most European. The RB1 dominance, Y DNA. In parts of Connacht, the frequency of the Y chromosome haplogroup RB1M269 reaches staggering levels, up to 95%. This is one of the highest concentrations of a single paternal lineage anywhere in the world. RB1 equals the paternal signature of the steppe. This tells us that the Bronze Age transition was likely driven by males. The incoming steppe warriors married or took local Neolithic women, but the Neolithic men were largely prevented from passing on their genes.
The bridge or the island. Genetically, Ireland acts as a genetic cul-de-sac. Because it is an island at the edge of the continent, it acted as a reservoir. While the rest of Europe experienced waves of Roman, Germanic, and Slavic migrations that diluted the ancient steppe signal, the Irish remained relatively insulated. Consequently, the Irish today carry a more pure version of that Bronze Age steppe genome than many people living on the steppe today. But here's where the story gets surprising. For centuries, the Irish identity has been synonymous with the word Celt. We speak of Celtic music, Celtic art, and Celtic blood. The paradox is, generically speaking, there is no such thing as a Celtic gene. The people who brought the Celtic language to Ireland were likely a small elite class or a cultural movement. The massive genetic change, the one that actually made the Irish who they are, happened 1,000 years before the first Celt ever set foot on the island. Furthermore, while the Irish are often thought of as darker or Mediterranean, the Black Irish myth, DNA shows they are among the most genetically northern people on Earth. The myth of the Black Irish, supposedly descendants of the Spanish Armada, has been thoroughly debunked by DNA. There is no significant Spanish genetic signal in Ireland. The dark features occasionally seen are likely remnants of the older Neolithic and Mesolithic layers, not Mediterranean sailors. Not all Irish are genetically identical. While the island is small, the genetic gradients are sharp. The West, Connacht. This is the Gaelic heartland. It shows the highest levels of R1b and the least amount of outside noise. If you want to see the Bronze Age steppe signature in its most concentrated form, you look to the cliffs of Moher. The East, Leinster. Here, the DNA tells a story of conquest. There are significant pulses of Anglo-Norman and Viking DNA. The Pale wasn't just a political boundary, it was a genetic one. The North, Ulster. This region is a genetic bridge. The plantation of Ulster in the 17th century brought a massive influx of lowland Scots and Northern English DNA, creating a distinct cluster that sits between the Irish and the British. The South, Munster, shows a fascinating blend with subtle traces of ancient maritime trade routes that hint at connections to the French coast. Why is the steppe DNA so high in Ireland compared to, say, Germany or Poland?
The answer is isolation and drift. Ireland experienced a founder effect. When the steppe-descended Beaker folk arrived, they were a relatively small group, but they found an island that was either sparsely populated or where the previous inhabitants were in decline, possibly due to the plague, Yersinia pestis, which the steppe people likely brought with them. Genetic drift. Because Ireland is an island, these steppe lineages were allowed to drift to high frequencies without being diluted by the massive migrations that rearranged the map of Central Europe. Conquest without replacement. Even when the Vikings and Normans arrived, they were elite migrations. They changed the names of the cities, Dublin, Waterford, and Wexford, but they didn't have the numbers to wash away the Bronze Age base. The Great Famine. The 1840s were a genetic bottleneck. The population plummeted from 8 million to 4 million. This event likely further concentrated certain genetic markers, as those who survived often came from specific regional clusters. So what is the Irish genome genetically? It is a story of 3 acts: a Mesolithic foundation that provided the blue eyes, a Neolithic bloom that built the monuments but left only a faint genetic echo, and a steppe hammer that arrived 4,500 years ago and never left. The Irish are the last steppe people. While their language and culture became Celtic, their DNA remained an incredibly stable snapshot of the Bronze Age warriors who rode across Europe. They are genetically a blend of steppe invaders, 60 to 80%, early farmers, 15 to 20%, and ancient hunter-gatherers, less than 10%. When you walk through the Burren or stand on the hill of Tara today, you're not just seeing a country, you're seeing thousands of years of migration written in DNA. You are seeing the resilience of a people who survived the end of the Ice Age, the collapse of the Stone Age, and the upheaval of the Bronze Age. The Irishness isn't just in the accent or the folklore. It's in a genetic code that traveled halfway across the world to find a home on a green island at the edge of the Atlantic. It is a signature of survival, etched in every cell. The Irish story is one of total replacement, but they're not the only ones. Across the Irish Sea, the British genome holds a different, even more complex mystery involving the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings. Which population should we decode next? Should we look at the mystery of the Picts or the hidden genome of the Basque? Let us know in the comments.